Hello, guys, and welcome to the Trish Lynn Show. Today, we are talking all things narcissistic abuse. So, unmasking narcissistic abuse and creating your path to healing and empowerment. Abigail is on, so we are going to bring her on live and get this conversation started. This is such a heavy topic, and I'm not going to say excited because excited is the wrong word, but at the same time, I'm excited to be able to have these conversations and share not only my own experiences, but other women, their experiences. I was at a loss for words there. And what they've been through so that we can have everyone see that, hey, if this is what you are going through or this is what you have been through, you are not alone. So I'm going to try and bring her and we'll get the conversation going. If you are new to the show, thank you guys for being here. And if you have watched before, obviously when you come on, give us some hearts, let us know that you are here. It does help boost in the algorithm. And yeah, there we go.
Oh, I can't see you now. It showed my room as I'm cleaning my sheets and stuff too.
Hey,
So
it
fun.
happens. I've got laundry folded on my bed,
Yeah.
so
I don't see you though.
you can't see me?
No. I don't know the last time I went live. It's been a minute, but I don't see you.
I should be. You're at the bottom of my screen, so you should be at the top. I should be at the top of
Yeah,
yours, I
you're
believe.
black. It's just a black screen on my.
I wonder if it is the internet connection.
Oh, let me see. It shows you on my. Okay, I might be looking at my computer a little bit, but you're on my computer, but not my phone.
Okay,
How
well, that's
strange.
weird.
Yeah,
It's
that is.
weird, but we will run with it. So I just shared the topic that we are discussing today: unmasking narcissistic abuse and creating your path to healing and empowerment. For everyone joining us, give us some hearts because that does help boost in the algorithm on this wonderful social platform. And we are in Mercury retrograde, so that could be why I'm black on one screen for you and showing up
Yeah,
on the other. You never know, right?
yeah, you're off too. I'm so sorry. Should we try redoing it?
You want to leave and come back on?
Yeah, just I can't see you, and on my internet, it's a lag, so I feel like I'm not present with you.
Okay.
Okay,
You leave, remove yourself, and then we'll bring you
okay,
back on.
be back.
Okay. You gotta love social media, right? This is one of the wonderful parts of the show is we get to show all of the pieces and the things that go on behind the scenes. So hopefully we can get her back on here and be seen because I'm so excited for this conversation today. Let's see if this works.
Oh, what up? You there?
I'm
Oh,
here.
what a bummer. I
It's
can't
not.
see you.
Aw, do you want to talk to a black screen?
Yeah, I mean, I will. It just feels a little strange seeing me and not you, but I totally will sit here with it. But you're totally lagged, so I'm not sure what's going on. That makes me so sad.
No, I'm not sure.
Uh, all right. Well, I mean, I'm here, so I'll talk to you. Just know that I can't see you. So
Yeah. That's okay, and everyone that's coming on, they can say, understand. We are here, but I am not seen on the other end of the screen. So I hope you guys can see both of us. Actually, that's a really good question to ask before we do dive into the conversation. For anyone who is watching live right now, can you see both of us on your screen?
yeah, I guess as long as they can,
Yeah,
right?
because if that's a no, I'll close down the whole live and restart it. And there could be a lag there as well.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. We are both seen. That's what matters. So we can still dive into the conversation. One, welcome to the Trishlyn Show. I am so happy to have you here and to be able to dive into this conversation. I know it's always a vulnerable topic when we bring up narcissistic abuse, but it's one that needs to be shared so other women who are experiencing the same things can see that, hey, you're not alone and there is another side to it. Whether you feel like there is right now or not, we are living proof that you get to be on this other side if you choose to take the action and make that your reality.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I would love to know, while you're staring at a black screen, your experience. If you can share with everyone kind of your experience and what you've been through.
Yeah, I mean, guess a little backstory. Like, I was raised in a pretty emotionally abusive, physically, spiritually, relationally abusive home, which led me into a marriage when I was 17, almost 18. And, looking back now, right, I can see so much, and that I just wanted to escape even like the space that I was in with my mom. So my mom was a single mom, and there was a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes there. But then to just try to get out of it, I didn't know what I was getting into. And my ex, he is from a very religious LDS family. And so there was like a lot of different layers, as a 17-year-old who wants to be loved and accepted, getting the idea of family, if you know anything about the LDS culture, is a lot of, is around this like family central being. So that was a lot of what was appeasing to me at the time being a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. And wanting that sense of family and connection, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So then getting into a marriage when we're both so young, and that's already, hard, and not, I didn't get a GED. I left high school, and then he already had a kid with someone else. So I was already a stepmom,
At
se-
17.
at 17.
Wow. That is really young.
Yes. I was very, very young. So then, going into the marriage, we ended up having kids, and I found out about there was a lot of pornography and sex addiction that later on got shown, and that's kind of like where my path of healing began.
Okay. And how many kids do you have?
I have three.
Okay. With him.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, we have
And
a 13-year-old, and then we have twins,
okay.
and they're 11.
Okay. I have a 11-year-old and a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old, but um
Yes, so you get it.
I get it. I really do get it. All with my ex, so kind of the same thing. My story's a little bit different, but there was a lot more emotional abuse for me to go through. Yeah. What's I have a question, but it just slipped my mind, of course. You were saying something and I had a question and now I cannot think about what that question is.
It's crazy, like, again, just going back to the technology thing though, like how you, like, I love and hate technology, right? Like this love hate relationship, but me not being able to see, like, it's so hard to go off of like you don't realize how much facial expressions
Yeah.
and stuff is important, because I'm like, you know what I mean, like I'm like a blank screen of like communication.
Yeah.
So I am
Okay.
sorry if it's not flowing, because the flow is hard when I can't see.
That's okay. That's totally okay. We all understand what happens sometimes with technology, so it's all good. Okay, so three kids together. How long were you guys together?
Well, I mean, gosh, it was my oldest. It's hard because, like, your brain. There were so many times that we left. Like, we
Okay.
had started, right, and come back together. So it's like, when was the final, right? Like, when were we finally done? Like, was it the divorce or before? And there was so many times in between that we had stopped being together, and then of course, like, I took him back in those situations. But I mean, together, I think we were together about 7 years total of the marriage.
Okay.
My twins were when we finally stopped, they were 3.
Okay.
So
And how
yeah.
long have you guys been apart now?
Um, gosh, I mean, 10 years
Okay.
now. And
Okay.
and I think that that's really important to show too, is that the healing, as much healing as I have and seen, like I was even sharing, and you messaged me back about my story yesterday, how much like that abuse can like sneak back
Yeah.
in, those like wounds and those beliefs that we deal with going through something so traumatic and
Yeah.
abusive. It really makes crazy making.
Yeah. It really sneaks back in on you. And it's, a lot of why, and I'm going to get to this at the end, like why I'm doing what I'm doing with my business now. And I've had that deeper clarity of helping women grow their businesses in the online space, because all of those pieces, it doesn't matter how long it's been, they really still sneak in and can affect how you're showing up online. And
Oh,
there's
100%.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. It's something you've experienced, but it's now being able to find that support and still be able to work through it so that you can show up and create your impact. So, you said that, back and forth a couple times throughout the 7 years. I would love to hear about the pattern with that, because I was the same way. We were together for 16 years, married for 11 of those years, and there was a lot of the same thing. We'd never actually separated, but I had been out of the house for weeks at a time, a week at a time, slept on couches in the house for weeks at a time. And there was always that pattern of trying to make things work and going back, and the love bombing, and, this, and this. And even when I left, I've been out a year and a half now. When I left, it was, I will do this. Let's go get counseling. I'll try this. Like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, I had already emotionally and mentally checked out, long before I physically left. So, what were the patterns that stand out for you?
Oh man, now I can't hear you. I
Oh
am
no,
so sorry, Trish.
that's okay.
This is so sad. You like cut out. Were
Oh
you asking
shit.
me to share about the patterns?
Yeah, I was asking about the patterns that you've experienced.
Yeah, so oh man, like I can totally relate to you with the going back and forth and sleeping on couches. The finances, as at a young age too, like again, not having those things set up for me and not understanding it at that time, like the control that he had over that, and being able, when I was finally at a spot where I was like, okay, how do I get out of this? What do I need to do for myself? Like I didn't even have any, I had no money. I, at the time, was working at a coffee shop and was, making minimum wage just to get out of the
Yeah,
house. And I remember sitting in my car, like talking to my then sister-in-law, and she's like, you just need to figure out how to get some money. And because he had the control over all of that, he put our house up for sale. I had no say. He moved back in with his parents, and I had nowhere to go. And that whole relationship too, the enmeshment of parents, is like a whole nother topic in itself when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse. And there was no way that I was gonna go be in that house with all of that. Like I was already at a place that I was suicidal. I didn't want to live. I didn't know that there was any kind of hope at that point. And the times that we would come back together, it was grand gestures,
yeah,
right? Like grand gestures, the leaving and then making notes, and like handmade notes. Like really, like the thing about this kind of abuse is like you think that it's like all rainbows and butterflies and everything's great, and oh my gosh, he loves me so 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 much, and then behind closed doors it's just it's the small chipping away. It's like the story of, they talk about like putting a frog in hot water is
yeah,
really what it is these things that you think that you're okay, and then all of a sudden you're not.
yeah,
And then it's like, but they get it just to the point where it's hot, and then they'll bring it back down.
yep,
And that can be unbelievably crazy making for anyone. I
Well,
mean, it's like, oh, go ahead.
no, you finish it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like when you the inner pieces of you that really can trust yourself. And again, it goes into like societal stuff too. Like I have religious abuse and spiritual abuse as well. So from a very young age, for me specifically, like I was taught not to trust my body.
yeah,
And I think, more now we're starting to understand that, like, no, our neurons, like, in our stomach, and like being able to know that, like, no, there's a reason why we say, like, trust
yeah,
your gut and
yeah,
things like that. And I think, deep down, like, I knew something was going on, but you don't know what you don't know. And when I came from a home that was like that, I didn't know any better.
yeah.
And so with that, I don't remember exactly where I was going to go either, but we'll go there.
Well, and you don't realize it happens, like you said, it happens so slowly. You don't realize it's happening. And then all of a sudden, you're a person you don't even recognize anymore. You're doing whatever you can to please them because they have all of the power and control.
Yeah.
Um, and you feel hopeless. I felt the same way. I became in the beginning of our marriage and relationship. I just tried to blend those two words together. In the beginning of our relationship, everything we did and had was on me. It was in my name. So our house and everything. And then at the end, it was all on him. And very slowly, and you don't realize it's creeping in, I became a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And very grateful for that experience to be able to be with my kids. But it was that level of control. It wasn't, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. It's now he has control of all the finances because he's the one that's working, and I'm asking permission to do things. Like, no, if anything, my job was 24/7 and I didn't get a break. But it was just all so slow that you don't recognize what is going on and what is happening, that you get to the point where you're like, holy fuck, this is my life. I'm not happy. What am I going to do about it? And you can get so caught up in that mindset of feeling hopeless that you can't see a way out. And this is what I really want to be able to share with our audience, because there is always a way out, no matter how caught up you are in feeling and thinking that you can't get out. If you have recognized these patterns and you now see where you're at, there is hope no matter what.
Yes. Sorry, I can't.
I know it's lagging. I was just gonna say, for anyone who is jumping in right now, Abigail cannot see me. I am black on her screen, and there is a lag. So we're gonna apologize, but we wanted to still keep moving forward with this conversation as best as possible.
Yes, but I appreciate you all being patient with me and figuring this out. Again, I apologize, but yes, no, it can feel hopeless and powerless, and you don't know what to do. And if you're like me, who didn't have family, you don't have any support, and you don't know where to turn. And with that slow manipulation that we were talking about too, the gaslighting and love bombing, on the outside, a lot of times with even my in-laws or the people around me, it became right, it gets turned on you, like, well, why are you so angry all the time? And you it makes it so difficult to explain, like, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Like, what am I doing? Because why wouldn't I be angry? Like, I don't know how to do this, but they, at least for my experience, like, they're so charming, and they're love bombing and doing these things of grand gestures, again, to put on the mask and make it seem like to everybody
Yeah.
else that everything's great and that it's me.
To the outside world, it was always perception. Now, this is where, for me, it was a little different. Like, my now ex-mother-in-law was always questioning, the summer before I left, it was, I don't know how you're with him. I don't know how you put up with him. He was drinking a lot, and it was always brought to my attention. There were things my kids wanted, and I was told to go against him and just do it. Yet when it actually came time to leave, whole different fucking story, right? Like, well, you guys can't make this work. I'm like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm at that point. I've already mentally checked out. And for me, my turning point was being told to do myself a favor, do him and the kids a favor and kill myself.
Mm.
That was my turning point. I'm like, no, how do you then lay in bed with someone who says that to you? Like, it was just, I was out. And yeah, it's a lot that a lot of people I think can start to relate to once we start actually opening up and sharing these stories. So for anyone who is watching in, if this is relatable, again, articulation sometimes for me is great because my mind is doing a lot faster thinking than can actually come out. If this is relatable and you want the support, I would love for you to, one, if you don't feel safe commenting here on the live chat, you can reach out to either one of us at any point in time to be that support for you. I am working on a couple pieces right now to create a support group, especially on Facebook, for women who have been in the toxic relationships. Just for us to all be able to come together and lean on each other when we are experiencing a lot of still the mindset pieces that years later catch up. We have some comments here from Casey. She flipped. Yeah, that's it. So like for me, so Casey said because in the end the family doesn't want him back there. I remember the day I got married, my ex-father-in-law was like, he's your problem now. And now I'm laughing because he's moved on and got a girlfriend. I'm like, he's your problem now, because it's still all that show and that perception that I know is fake. My kids have started recognizing that it's fake, which is a really interesting to watch. Like, I don't talk bad of him to them. He's still their dad. But as things come up, I can share my experience and my perspective with them. But they're seeing it on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had similar things happen where, he's in a relationship with someone else now where so again, with my experience in sex addiction, it was a lot of cheating and pornography and masturbation and things like that in our marriage, where he was cheating on me multiple different times with his ex that he had as a kid with. And unfortunately, like that was like a huge piece of the abuse was like, well, I need to be friends with her. We have to be able to co-parent. And even in our at one point in a church that we were going to, they even had a relationship with one of my friends. And it was like, no, they're just friends. And so I was even being gaslit by my church because they didn't understand what was going on. And they're just like, oh, they're just friends. And I'm like, no, you don't, as a married couple, like, it's not just friends. Like, this isn't how this works.
Oh
And
my
it was
God.
just, again, like a ton of crazy making as things were going on. And even now, the woman that he's with, he went back to the ex baby mama too.
Oh my
And
God.
she left for a period and we had a conversation and she took him back as well. So it's just like, it affects the kids,
Yeah.
it affects everyone around. And it is really unfortunate. And again, like, same thing that you said, right? Like, I don't need to say anything because it's not like I have my story and I have no reason to, like, I think it's sad, right? But
Yeah.
again, they're gonna, it's their journey.
And
And
they have to figure it out on their own, right?
yeah, and again, as a parent and somebody who is a child at the end of the day, right? Like, your desire is to love your
Yeah.
parents and to have that relationship. So why would I do anything to harm that? Because that's not, you know what I mean? There's enough there that I don't need, I don't need to do anything. I hope the
Yeah.
best. It's unfortunate. And I think that that's something too, just to speak a little bit to that too, for narcissism. Narcissists can recover if they want to,
Yes.
if they get help. Because at the end of the day, narcissists are literally just somebody who has a ton of shame.
Yeah. And if they choose to recognize their own patterns, I fully believe there is hope for everyone. And if they chose to recognize their own patterns and put their ego aside,
Yeah,
they could become a different person 100%.
that's just usually
Um,
not the case, right? So,
exactly. Their ego is in the way, right? Their
yeah,
ego is way too big for them to, one, recognize that. I mean, they're never the problem in the story, right? It's
no,
always everyone else. Everyone else
yeah.
is the problem. It's never back on them. and they just don't want to see it. So it's
Yeah,
sad, but it is what it is. And as long as we choose to do what's best for us, then that's really all that matters.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that support system too, like I had said, I didn't, kind of what piggybacking off what you were saying with support, I didn't have that. So that's where me getting into a women's group was like life changing for
Yes.
me. And it's, you need to have that kind of support and whatever capacity that is, like making sure that you have that. And if you don't, and you were somebody that can relate to me, getting into something. And I love that you're doing that. I love that I'm doing that, right? Like I have a women's group that's what I
Yeah.
do literally
Yeah.
for my job now is work with women, whether it's narcissistic abuse or just having abuse in your past,
Yeah.
emotional, relational, physical, because we need these spaces.
Yes. Um, and I have questions that are leading up to that as well because I want to be able to share that. What I want to ask is what coping, so when you were still in it, what coping mechanisms did you use to help yourself get through some of the pieces?
Yeah, so again, it's a lot of the same things that I teach my clients now. I started with I call them I call them, they've been passed down to me, the dailies. I think that getting something emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, something every day in those categories, even if it's 1 minute or 2 minutes to do, will change your life. Like having something consistent like that. And that's what it did for me because I was able to sit and start to recognize like what was even going on with me in those areas. I would sit in group and I didn't even know what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I was the woman that, somebody handed me a motion wheel and was having that anxiety come up as, it's going around in group, like when you're a kid
Yeah.
and it's going to be your turn to read. Like that's how I felt. And so being able to start to just have an emotion wheel and go, oh, what am I feeling
Yeah.
in this moment?
Besides numb, I felt numb for
Mm-hmm.
so long that um, moving forward was really, really difficult and actually understanding what emotions I was feeling and why I was feeling them. And then recognizing, are these even my emotions?
Yep. So for me, I think like starting to understand my emotions, my dailies, and having that support were the coping mechanisms that got me out.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. I want to learn more about that, but obviously not enough time in this episode because like for me it was as simple as breath work and recognizing when my nervous system was in fight or flight and being able to just bring it back and focus on my breathing to calm my body and say, look, I am in control, there is no harm, there's no danger.
Yeah,
um
breath work for me didn't come in till years later.
it was actually recommended to me. I was seeing a therapist while we were still together, and she is the one who said, like, you're constantly in fight or flight. This is
Yeah.
what we need to do. And it was a lot of pieces I already knew. So I actually went out and got certified in breath work because it was something
Same.
I really like. It really helped me, and I wanted to be able to. I'm kind of that way though. If it's something that helps me, I dive right into it because I want to know all of the things about it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I went to a retreat for healing, as I do. Those, I'm the same as you. It's like I see something and I want to go do it, and I love that about you. And that was the same thing. I had experienced breath work in this retreat, and it terrified me, but I knew that there was something there. Like I knew that there was like this piece that I had to understand,
yeah,
and it was because my body was in a constant state of fight, flight, and freeze,
yeah,
and being able to like get to a place that helped me again, like I said, years later, but to enjoy being with
yeah.
myself. Up until breath work, I didn't know me. I didn't know if I liked me. And ultimately, anytime I was afraid to be with myself, it was because I was afraid I wasn't going to like me either.
That's yeah, that's such a deep piece. If and you lose who you are, so you don't know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
Self identity work is a big piece of the work I do because it's now, who do I want to be? I'm not who I was in the past. I'm not who I was before that relationship. I have this foundation now of who I am, but who is that person and what does that person look like moving forward?
Yep, absolutely.
So, the somatic work that you do now,
Hmm.
can we dive into that and share with us, the work that you do and how that helps not only you, but your clients?
Yeah, again, just like we were kind of sharing, it allows us to be able to explore so many different avenues of ourselves and also be, our body as the soma. I do somatic breath work that once we're able to clear out those things because our body doesn't understand
Yeah.
time. So these things have happened to us, and we usually create our core beliefs between the ages of 1 and 18. So yeah, I got married at 17, but right, like those main core beliefs of mine were already there. And then going into that abuse, I'm just looking for evidence to constantly believe those things about myself subconsciously.
Yes.
So to be able to get safe within my body, then I'm able to do that mind work, because I don't discredit mindset work. I do mindset work. I think it's so valuable and important, but it's like that feeling of like, if you are listening and you feel like you keep hitting a wall, like, why can't I get past this? Like, somatic breath work is it. Like being able to get safe in our bodies, so that way then those things that you desire, those things that you want to embody, then you're able to bring back in. And that was huge for me.
I love that. I love that. I did some somatic work with a coach, and it was really just it was feeling into the body and into the chakras and where I was feeling what I was feeling, and it was such a incredible experience because at the time I was in the ending stages of a relationship since I left my ex, and it happened to be someone who was also my best friend, and we were tapping into the pieces, and she's like, where are you feeling this? I'm like, it's in my chest. And she's like, your heart is breaking. I'm like, holy fuck, my heart is literally breaking. But being able to really feel it, and it released so much after that. It was such an incredible experience.
Yeah, well,
um
I mean, feeling is to be alive. So many times we want to push away these emotions, but really when we dull the pain, we're dulling our peace and
yeah.
joy. And so we have to fully express and feel to be able to fully express and feel the great.
Yeah, 100%. We have to be able to move through these pieces and not just mask them, because if we don't actually work through them and understand them and heal from them, it's just you can push stuff down as much as you want. At some point, it's all gonna come bottling right back up.
Yep. Yep. And so that's like finding those tools that can help
Yeah,
you move through it faster. And that's what breath work can do. And that's what the mindset work
yeah,
can do. And that's how I create my containers, as you were kind of asking what I do,
yeah,
is we give you the tools that you need to be able to go from that unregulated state to regulated. And not even necessarily, I want to reframe that, not even regulated, because it's more of being able to stretch the rubber
yeah,
band of, hey, I'm feeling dysregulated, which is okay. It's
yeah.
okay to be dysregulated because it helps us realize what we need.
Yes. And it's being able to recognize that as well, right? Like, I can now instantly recognize when I'm in a dysregulated state, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this to bring myself even back to just some foundational
Yep.
stability, which
Yep.
is such a big piece.
Yeah.
The mindset, I mean, the mindset work is always ongoing. It's a lot of the work that I do with my clients,
Yeah.
because we can talk ourselves into all of these reasons of, why we can't see success in our business, why we can't see these pieces in our lives, and why we're not worthy of it. Even just showing up and being visible when you've been
Yep.
in that toxic relationship is such a big piece, because you can show up all day long, but if you still have all of that self-doubt and the lack of confidence in yourself, you're showing up but you're not being seen because you subconsciously don't want to be seen. So being
Yep.
able to shift all of that is such a big piece as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know you probably, right? Like working in business, but businesses, they say what, 80% mindset,
Yeah,
or so it's all the things that are happening outside and the things that are going on in here. So those things are so important when it comes to, work, business, career, entrepreneurship,
yeah,
any level of that.
yeah. It totally is. So I have a big question for you.
Okay.
Big question. How have you found relationships now moving forward? Are you back out and dating? Are you with someone?
Hmm.
How has that been working for you? And
Yeah, I've been married for 3 years now.
okay,
So yeah, and he's great. We for sure trauma bonded in the beginning, and it was a work in progress. And I mean, marriage is in general
yeah,
a work in progress, and partnership and blended families, and then exes,
yeah,
right, and co-parenting. But yeah, I've been with my husband for 3 years, and he's amazing, and I'm super grateful to have found somebody like him. And, again, even going to the trauma bonding, like it happens. And so if you have, like, we all have stuff. They say that relationships are 67% of issues, and so it's a matter of learning how to be a good communicator. So being a good communicator is also being able to self-reflect and understand me and what's going on with me. So that way we can learn to be good arguers. Like I think a lot of times with relationship, we again don't want confrontation or conflict. And it's like those are opportunities to bring us
yeah,
together for anyone.
yeah. I love that. And in the beginning of your relationship, so like I've been out a year and a half now, I'm kind of back into the dating world. So it's fun because I don't have the patience for half of the people that I am meeting online, and my standards are like way up here. And if you don't meet those, then I'm sorry. Like I've got bigger things going on, and this is where I'm going, and I know what I'm looking for. I've also like red flags pop up like instantly for me. Did you
Yeah.
notice that in the beginning as well? Now, like once you recognized what you had been through, did you start to recognize the red flags that popped up?
Yeah, 100%. And again, I made non-negotiables for myself. So setting those boundaries, that things I knew that I did not want, I could not do. And that's where I like set it. Like I felt like a lot when I was dating, like it was just a lot of games
Yes.
and a lot of, people not being completely honest, right? Or, like just wanting to hook up and stuff. And I wasn't wanting to do that. And so every conversation for me personally, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm not going to do. And it's like, I wasn't going to play the
Yeah.
game.
I love that because I'm the exact same way. I'm like, okay, no, I'm sorry, you're a red flag. Bye. Yeah, I love that. And being able to set those boundaries now and to be honest, feel confident in yourself in setting those boundaries.
Right. And again, that takes being able to know that you're going to mess up and having that self compassion and
Yeah.
being able to be clear of who you are and what you want and know that you are worthy
Yeah.
of having those things, that there are plenty of fish in the sea
Yes.
and that you are worthy of having that relationship that you
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah. That's for anyone listening in, that is a huge piece right there is you are worthy of all of the good things that you want. And if you feel like it's not possible right now, it is possible. And do not settle for less than one, what you want, and two, what you deserve.
Yes. Ye- Yeah. So I always, if you don't mind, I always like to put for what I teach with my clients about deserve, if you're okay with that.
Go for it.
The reason I personally don't ever use the word deserve is because deserve means that we can like earn standing. And if others
Mm,
can earn standing, then we can earn standing. And so that's why I use the word worthy, is because we are already worthy. And so are you. And so is, again, the
yeah.
narcissists, right? Like they're all worthy of these things. But if we deserve, and that's where I think having those boundaries and those non negotiables come into play, because it's not you're not worthy, it's hey, this is my line and this is it, and so then I can walk and stand in that.
I love that. I love that perspective. 100% love it.
Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, and I hope everyone else like and this is why I love this show and having these open conversations because everyone has a different way of perceiving things and I'm always open to seeing things differently learning even know how to speak to myself in a different way. So I love that way of thinking. 100% love it.
Yeah, because just like you were saying with how we speak to ourselves, if I deserve something, then that means that I can negotiate with myself what
Yes.
I get.
Yeah. There's no negotiating.
Nope, there's not, because you're worthy
None.
of it.
Yeah, I love that. And then obviously your business has now become around this work. And
Hmm.
have you found that growing your business has been not a challenge, but like affected by the relationships that you had?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I love doing stuff like this and I love podcasting, but man, like that fear can really set in still. And it can affect, those conversations and being able to stand in my truth regardless
Yeah.
of, the outcomes.
Yeah, I relate. That's what I said this morning in your story. I relate to that so much because we're in a good space right now, but my truth is my truth, and I can't change what happened. If you don't like it, well, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been that way. And that's the way I've started looking at it, because I'm here to share my experiences. I'm here to share what I have been through so that other women can come in and see, hey, I'm not alone. I'm feeling this way. She has felt that way. This is what she's been through. Let's get the support that we need.
Right. Well, and again, because it's not about them anymore. It's just about me, and being able to let others know that they're not alone is where my heart is.
Yeah.
And if I don't stand in my truth and speak my truth, how can I do that?
Yeah.
I can't be authentic and I can't be congruent with
Yeah.
myself. And so that is where I've really, you think you get past it sometimes, right? Like you think you get there and then like something will happen again and you have to start back
Yeah.
over for yourself. And that's
Yeah.
what I was sharing, as you know, but for others, like what I was sharing in my stories, because it does affect those areas. It affects how you show up if you feel like you're not able to fully be present and speak from your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way I keep looking at it, it's obviously a fear that keeps popping up. And for me, I keep just reminding myself that, my impact is greater than my fear. And if I
Yeah,
don't share my story, my truth, and the pieces that I've experienced, then I'm not going to create the impact that I am here to create.
exactly. And something just came to me. You can flow with me or
Yeah.
not with it. But is there something that you feel right now? Like, I know we're obviously already being vulnerable, but we do both talk about this,
Yeah.
in our lives because this is what we do. Is there something that you do feel like you wish you would say or that you would want to say right now?
I have been able to say, like, that piece of what actually drove me to leaving him, saying, do me and the kids a favor and kill yourself, has been the biggest,
Mm,
hardest piece for me to articulate on screen and share,
yeah.
because it's not something that anyone wants to hear. And I always feel like that, if he sees something online, that there's going to be repercussions. And it's still just being able to share, like, this is what happened, and I'm sorry you were drunk. I don't care. It's not an excuse. You still said it.
Yeah.
And for my kids to see, but at the same time, they already know all of this because he didn't hold anything back from them. He went to the point of
Mm,
telling the kids I cheated on him. And just the pieces. So it's been hard because we are, like, now, like I said, we're in a good space where we're co-parenting, we're getting along, but you just never know what's gonna trigger that to change. And I don't want the headache in my life, but at the same time, my impact is greater than anything else. So
yeah. What
it's using the tools that I have in my tool belt, that if there is repercussions, well, I get to come back to what I know and protect myself in the way I did before, because it's still always an ongoing, protecting your energy from them.
Yeah. When you say like repercussions, like I'm curious for you, like what does that look like?
Um, Potentially losing my kids,
Mm,
because he's still very controlling and thinks that because he has a good job and makes lots of money, he has our marital home. He bought me out of the house. He's got a girlfriend who has a good job. I don't really know, because the more I find out, the more I'm like, okay, it's just, again, is this a show for me to think that it's more than it is? Like, yes, he has a good job, but he also has a history of violence and, you know, all of these other pieces. His work schedule isn't conducive to having the kids. So it's remembering all of the other pieces and not getting caught up in it, because I will never lose my kids.
Mhm.
Not a chance. I will go to war for my kids,
Yeah.
right? That, and just like the arguments I don't need, because he will tell the kids anything and everything. And for me, they're my children. That's not fair to them. So it's trying to keep the peace a lot for their sake.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked that because I can totally relate to what happens. And I think that for me, like hearing you, that's a lot of what that fear that I was talking
Yeah.
about. It's like all of those things. I could share my story with you all day long, but it's like, ooh, like how is this gonna play out,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that's a fear that we're always going to carry with us, because they are, you know, not only manipulative in the things that they will say to the kids. Like, my ex will not hold back, and he will say whatever to whoever, and he doesn't care. And I don't care what anyone else thinks of me. My story is still my story, and if you give me the chance, I'll share my side of the story with you. But it's for my kids. And he would talk so much shit about me to the kids, and that I
Mm,
did not find acceptable at all. But I also didn't stoop to his level and bash him back. They are
yeah.
figuring it out and seeing it for themselves. And that's really what I wanted, so that I'm not the bitch that's talking bad about their dad. You know,
Yeah.
my oldest just turned 15, and he is seeing now all of the things that my ex has said, one to me, to them. It's actually what's happening in his life, not mine.
Mm, yeah.
So,
I can definitely relate to that.
yeah. And if anyone else can relate, you know, let us know in the comments, because we would love to hear from you. Or in a private message if you don't feel safe commenting. I know this is a very big topic, and for anyone who doesn't feel safe actually commenting here on the show itself, yeah, we are always open. Our inboxes are always open to listen to what it is that you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Well,
is,
thank you for
Casey.
sharing
Very
that
tip.
with me. I
Pardon?
said, thanks for sharing that with me, my
Yeah.
question.
Of course. Casey here just said, very typical. All the accusations are confessions. That's it, 100%. So
Yeah.
I was in one relationship since I've left, and it wasn't even, we weren't like it wasn't a relationship until my ex went and said to the kids, your mom's fucking him.
Mm,
Well, one, like, you're saying this to my children. That's not acceptable.
mm,
And it turned into he was using me to babysit his son and this and that. Our boys were the same age, they're friends, and all of these other things. And now it turns around, and his girlfriend is literally the one taking care of my kids when they are there because of his work schedule,
yep. That's what happens.
right?
It's the supply.
Yeah. So I look back and I laugh, and it's not just me recognizing it. My oldest is really starting to pick up on a lot of it, which is nice that in a way I didn't have to be the one to say it to him. He is recognizing it on his own, because I am their safe space. I always have been, and I always will be, and I'm not going to talk bad about their dad. I'm going to let them see this for themselves. Now, if something happens, I will gladly share my perspective with him, and it's mostly him. But I will obviously share, you know, my experience with him in a way that just gets him to see, like, you know, he's not alone. It's why I left, but still understanding that, yeah, he's 15 and he's a kid.
Yeah. No, navigating the parent-child relationship
Yeah,
with is again a whole other beast in and of
yeah,
itself.
yeah,
Trying to do again, create boundaries and teach your kids how to handle these kinds of situations without calling it out.
yeah. Yeah, and like his big thing was always the control and taking things away.
Yeah.
So it's trying to now show him the pattern that keeps coming up when he doesn't do what dad wants him to do, but in a way that's still not talking bad, but getting him to see that pattern for himself.
Yeah, I found questions, right? Like asking a lot of questions
Yeah,
of how something makes them feel or what is their experience and, what is it that you feel like you need and how can, we have those conversations if you're needing it with your
yeah,
parent has been really helpful for me.
yeah, yeah. No, it's been a learning process and learning how to navigate all of these pieces. So it's been I don't want to say good, but at the same time it's been good, right? Like learning the different pieces, learning how to navigate all of the pieces, learning, what is still coming up. Um learning how to navigate him in this relationship and how the kids are feeling. And I've had to explain to them, like, this is new for all of us.
Yeah.
This is new for me, this is new for your dad, this is new for her. So we are all learning at the same time.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I've loved this conversation. I'm going to end it because I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. I feel like we could keep going on if we wanted to, but I will
Yes.
end it here. Is there anything you want to share with anyone that is listening in?
Thanks for being patient with me. My camera.
Yeah, no, this is, you know what, considering I'm black on your screen and there's a lag, this has been a really, really good conversation. I have really enjoyed it. I am going to drop all of your information in the caption, as well as the link to my Facebook group that I am starting to grow as a support system for women who have been in the toxic relationships, so that if you want to join us there, you can join in and be supported. And again, leave any comments here. If you do not feel comfortable leaving them here, but you want to be a part of the conversation, join in, send a message, and we will have the conversation there. I can create a group message between Abigail and I and all of us to come in together and continue this conversation in a more private way, because of this topic being so difficult at times to be able to actually share. So yeah, thank you for joining me and being on the show. Thank you to everyone who joined in on the show and showed up to support us. I truly appreciate you guys, and we will be back on Friday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye,
Bye.
bye everyone.